Well, hello, everybody. Okay, I'm trying to get the lighting right. It's not working because my fluorescent light up there is obnoxious. It's obnoxious. I agree that it's obnoxious, but there is not much I can do about it except, yeah, it's obnoxious. Okay, let me make sure that I'm streaming live, and I think I am. I think I am. Let's go to my channel. I'm streaming live. Look at that, everybody. I hope that you had a good weekend. Okay, I am streaming, so I'm gonna not do that because the echo is gonna drive me crazy, and I don't want that. But let me close that out. Okay, so how was everyone's weekend? Welcome to our tea break. I need to get my tea going because I just finished up with my morning everything. So now I'm going to start the kettle. I'm a little late, so you get to start the kettle with me. Hang on a minute. For those of you who've never seen it, the kettle. I really literally mean the kettle. Okay, put that baby on. Turn it up high and let's get our tea ready. What are we going to talk about this morning as we take our tea break? I have something that I think is fascinating over the weekend, that I think we definitely want to tackle. And I want to hear your thoughts on it because I think we get into this mindset, and this is a really uh, just good morning, Wendy Cooper. Thank you for joining me. I think this is such an interesting mindset. So over the weekend, I was on Threads, I think, because I don't have TikTok anymore, but I think it was a TikTok video. And this woman shaved her head. Okay, so she starts the video by shaving her head, and she takes the hair and she weaves the hair into yarn. Okay, all right, fine. So then she takes the yarn and she crochets the hair yarn into a hat. And then she puts the hat on to keep her now shaved head warm. Okay, hang on, I'm trying to get this lighting right. Okay, it's not gonna get right because, like I said, that fluorescent up there is just gonna it's gonna make. I have a halo. I'm not angelic. Don't worry. Okay, so here's the funny haha and then the not so funny. First of all, that was a lot of work. Like shaving your head and then spinning your hair into yarn and then crocheting the hair into a hat. That's a lot of work. A lot of steps to get a hat. Number one. Number two, the destruction of one thing to create another thing is, the metaphor is there, right? Late stage capitalism, da 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 da. We got that. But I took from that video something a little different in that it just feels like another victim core. Okay. This idea that I just feel like people are just in love with dystopia right now in a really unhealthy way. And so I was thinking to myself, like, why on earth would you spend this inordinate amount of time to record this whole process of you shaving your head and weaving the yarn and crocheting it into a hat that you're going to wear of your head instead of just buying yourself a hat, girl? Why don't you just buy yourself a hat? Like, if you find this video out there, I believe it's a TikTok video. I'm not on TikTok, so I can't go hunt for it, but it was reposted to, I think it was Threads. And you see it, maybe it will click for you in a way that it didn't click for me. But what clicked for me was at a time when things can feel really uncertain, people glom onto, strangely enough, they glom onto things that feel like they have a measure of control, right? It feels like I'm going to wrestle some control back in a world that feels out of control. So, and I feel like in some ways it speaks to people's anxiety about not being able to stop a tide of something that's coming. Because shaving your head, trust me, I'm contemplating it because I have a lot of hair right now. And when I get a lot of hair, I start thinking that I'm going to cut my hair because I don't like maintenance. But to shave your head, turn it into yarn, crochet it into a hat, and then wear the hat, eh, it's it doesn't feel peaceful, right? It doesn't feel like you did this because it was going to bring you a measure of joy in your world. It feels like an act of desperation. And I don't want us to feel desperate like that. Like there's so much in the world these days that people are screaming for places of peace and connection, that I feel like the extreme of doing something like that is is a wake up call in some ways, for not just for people who are into dystopian fiction, though that's also it. But it's no different than the handmaids who are currently marching down, um, the street outside the White House. And we're not going to talk politics because this is our place of peace. And I am political. I'm not apolitical, but this is our little coffee break, a little tea break, waiting on my water to boil. Um, Hold that thought. Let me go grab my tea bag. I think we'll have mint this morning. Hang on. No, I lied. We're gonna have organic Zen. Gonna do a little crisp green regenerative tazo this morning. Okay, so as I was saying, it can sometimes feel like, and I want to know if you, as you think about your own day and the people that you're going to encounter, if it feels like the performance of dystopia and the performance of suffering is becoming just that, this performance of suffering. And I think, gosh, there's so many things that are really suffering inducing, right? So many things. We have steam. Welcome to my tea house. There's so many things that can induce suffering. And when we seek it out in those kinds of ways where we publicly do things like shave our heads or march around the White House in a handmaid's dress, I think that we also forget that we don't have to do that level, that brand of suffering. And if you look around your day, there are probably people for whom I call it victim core, because it's the idea that if I'm playing the victim, like if I play the victim in just the right way, then you will feel sorry for me, or you will feel a kinship with me, or you will see me. And the desire to be seen is really, it's real, right? So many of us feel like the world is ignoring them. So many people feel like the world is just ignoring them. And so these huge acts of just huge shows of look at this radical thing that I'm doing, shaving my head and weaving it into yarn and sewing it into a hat and then putting it back on my head. Because you can't undo the shaving of the head part, right? So you gotta commit to that. You gotta commit. But in the quiet of the night, after the head's been shaved and you've made the video and you've woven the hat and you've put it on your head, when you sit down with yourself, are you still ill at ease? Are you still searching for that connection? Because you can only pull something like that one time, right? And then you don't have a second head to shave. So now what? What's the next level of victim core that you're going to be willing to dive into to feel that connection? I desperately don't want that to be people's realities. And I think too many of us, um, especially in the generations, I'm Gen X, and so I tend to talk a lot to Gen X women, but I think especially in the generations behind us, the millennials, the Gen Zs, the X millennials, and so on and so forth, their connection to the world is so tenuous in some ways, that these huge acts of just extreme behavior, like we had them when the Gen X generation, like we were the jackass generation. People doing extreme acts for attention are not new, but the amount of people doing it, that's new. And the reach, that's new. So anyway, I was thinking about that this weekend. I was thinking about my clients and how sometimes we have to have those hard conversations about, are you doing this because it feels right to your path, or are you just needing some attention? And I think Y'all, if you just need some attention, just say that. Just hold up your hand and say, you know what? I actually don't want to shave my head and make a hair hat out of it because I need attention. I really just need a friend. I really just want someone to acknowledge that I exist in the world. And if you don't want to acknowledge that to say that out loud, then write it on a piece of paper. Write yourself a letter and mail it back to you and say, "Hey, you wrote, you know, I, you wrote this a week ago, and here I am. I'm showing up to let you know that we're still here." Like, do something not destructive, because I don't know about y'all, but I am not into self destruction, and I'm not saying that to anyone who struggles with depression and anxiety. You see that book on the screen, The Anxiety Solution. I wrote that because I'm an anxiety sufferer, and I want to share with the world things that have worked for me. But I am not self-destructive. Now, we all have self-destructive tendencies. I get that. I'm a Gemini. Trust me, I have those. But I'm not self-destructive in the ways of, I'm not going to destroy my life to get your attention. And it's just so many people are destroying their lives to get a little sliver of attention, just a little sliver. So when I'm talking to my clients, sometimes I just ask them, do you really need this, or do you just need a hug from a human, right? From an actual human being, and not a social hug, not a virtual hug. But do you just need a hug? And because my client work is virtual, I have to say, okay, then you're gonna need to go get a hug. You're gonna need to go get a hug because I'm not gonna let you destroy this, because what you really need is human touch. What you really need is human connection. How many of us are sitting in cubicles right now, or you're gonna hear this in an hour or two, or you're gonna come back to it and you're gonna have swum through the entire day not connecting, not feeling that sense of connection with anyone. And because of it, have this low level anxiety that's just kind of creeping with you all day long. It's just kind of itching up your spine. It's causing the hair on your neck to stand up and causing little mini panic attacks. Not because anything is necessarily wrong, but because you are craving something that you're not getting. Connection, real connection. And that connection starts internally, right? It starts with making space in our day to connect. Welcome to my tea party. Yes, it's virtual. I know, I know, I know. But it does start with asking yourself for permission to say, for 30 minutes or an hour, I'm going to take that lunch break out of the office. And I'm going to go sit and people watch, not internet surf. Okay, I'm going to take it and people watch. And you may be watching people internet surfing, but you might also be watching the beautiful colors hit people's hair, or animals that you wouldn't have seen before, or the breeze flowing through the trees, right? Just a way that brings you into connection with something real, whether that's the earth or people or anything. I don't know why this woman's shaving of her head just got me so focused on people's lack of connection with the real world. But I think it's so telling how the performance of dystopian victimhood is all the rage right now. Um, when what's really missing isn't like the slide towards dystopianism may or may not be real, right? Capitalism it is what it is. Empires rise and fall. So some of us live in the rise, some of us live in the middle, some of us live in the fall. But the decision, the choice to make a spectacle of your loneliness is telling. So part of what I do on a semi-regular basis is I teach. I'm a college professor, and today I was talking to my students about self-esteem. And so I mentioned this video of this one. In case y'all are wondering if we're having tea, we are. It's just really hot at the moment, so I'm waiting for it to cool off so I can actually drink it. But I was talking to my students about the head shaving, right? And how that's such a it's such a this generation thing to do, to shave your head on social media, weave it into yarn, crochet it into a hat, and then wear the hat. And my students were like, yeah, it is, because that's where you get your attention, right? That's where someone's going to say, oh, But the people who could help you not feel alone won't ever see that. And if they do, they'll just think you did it for the spectacle, because we all do things now just for the spectacle of being seen and not for the connection. I have a very deep class. Very deep class. But see, heat, it is super hot. You can't see the steam. It is super hot right now. Anyway, you know what, Wendy? That's a great question. Potentially the locked in feeling has never really gone away. That's an excellent question. Maybe we have not been able to liberate ourselves from that locked in. 2 years is a long time to be locked away, right? And perhaps mentally, a lot of people are still there, even though we're not there anymore. That's an excellent point. I appreciate that. Thank you. But so when I created this idea of doing tea on Tuesdays, part of what I wanted to create is a space of connection for women out there. And if men join, that's great. But my audience is women in transition. But for women out there who are in their day, going through their day, not connecting with themselves, okay? Not floating all the balloons, right? And I want to offer into the day of all the plates that you're twirling and the balloons that are floating, this tether, this string at 11 o'clock that says, come on down. Let the plates spin, let the balloons float, come on down, grab us something to drink, chit chat or sit in silence, but connect, become a part of this little space. Because it says on the little ad that's running down on the bottom that your piece is non-negotiable, because that's what I preach on my channel. So I've been preaching since I started my channel. Those are the rules that I put out there. They're all over everything that I do. Rule number one is that your piece is non-negotiable. Rule number two is nothing and no one gets to fuck with rule number one. If you don't like cursing, this is not the channel for you. And when I think about the young lady who shaved her head, I think to myself, when did your piece become negotiable? Because that is not an active piece. That is absolutely not an active piece. Your piece has to be being negotiated in ways that are crazy for you to actually want to put this on the internet and think that and hope that it's taken. Probably you intended this to be interesting and funny and cute. And let me tell you, people were ripping this video apart because of the idea that you would do something so drastic and extreme to what feels like glorify what dystopian, a world where we have to go back to looming our hair into yarn for clothing. Like, that is 1650s stuff. Who wants to live that way? And that's what I realized. Like, there is a whole generation that doesn't know how to find their peace. There's a whole generation who don't know how to connect in ways that bring them peace and joy. They have to connect through sensationalism, through extreme behaviors, through the seeking of validation for behaviors that are just kind of like, why are you doing that? You don't need to do that. I see you. So I want to encourage you to, like, get out today. Take that lunch break, go a different way home. If you're driving, you drive home from work today, take a different way home. If you're retired or you don't have to work today, go for a walk in a different direction. If you don't want to leave the house because it might be raining, which is raining here, um, um, and you're like, well, I'm not gonna go out and walk, but I can do something in my day to feel like I've connected with my peace. Maybe that's spending 30 minutes with me. Maybe it's going to stand outside in the rain. Maybe you don't have to go for a walk. Maybe just letting the rain touch your skin and not running away from it, allowing your sense of touch to take over, right? Like, giving yourself permission in your day to find a connection, whether that's with a person, a pet, a place, a thing, but feel for at least a minute, 60 seconds, a connection with something outside of you so that you can remember what it feels like to connect with the things that are inside of you, right? Like, the raging debate that always happens. If you're reading, is it really reading if you're reading on a tablet, or if you're reading on the if you have an actual book in your hands? Well, I'm a reader. I'm a voracious reader, so I don't care if it's a tablet or a book in my hand. But sometimes I want to feel the weight of the book, right? Because for some reason, the weight of the book connects me more to the story. But if I have my tablet or even my phone, if I'm someplace and I'm just trying to kill some time, I have books on my phone that I'll read. It doesn't matter because my brain creates a whole world that I fall into when I start reading. And I've left this world behind. Like, I'm connected to the characters. I'm invested in, because I'm also a writer. I'm invested in their world, right? And so I don't care if it's on the phone, on a tablet, or in a book. But sometimes I like a cup of tea and the book in my hand and a snuggly blanket, right? And I want that sensory experience. I think shaving your head and weaving it is a disconnect from your senses. And I think that that is a reflection of the anxiety that too many people are living with. Because anxiety divorces you, right, from your sense of perspective with the world. It blunts our senses to the point where we're feeling either everything or nothing at all. Everything either has us paralyzed or we are numb and we feel literally nothing at all. And those two extremes start to manifest themselves in some destructive ways. Sometimes it's self-destructive by shaving your head and weaving it into a hat, but sometimes it's other destructive, right? We do things because we don't have the grasp on our senses. We do things that hurt other people. I don't want us to do either one of those extremes. I want us to find our middle, come back to our center, ourself, and figure out what it is that we are going to do. Who are we going to be? And how do we get to connect with our peace every single day? So maybe every Tuesday you'll get to join me for a cup of tea. It's finally getting there, y'all. Like, seriously. Finally getting there on this cup of tea. Okay. So I am so grateful when people hang out with me. So thank you for watching this up to this long. I'll try to end on a higher note. I don't know what, something about this whole head shaving, hat making thing just rubbed me the wrong way, y'all. I don't know what to tell you. But I'll end on a much more frivolous note, in that in the background is tennis. I'm a huge huge tennis lover. So I've been watching the US Open, and so it's playing in the background right now since I'm between things and I can actually watch some of it. And I love tennis. I love the sportsmanship aspect of it. I love the athleticism of it. I love the characters who play it. I love the performance aspect of it. I love the strength. I love all the things, all the things, all the things, all the things. As with all sports, there's a lot of bad stuff that comes with loving sports, but I like it. And so if you watch it live or you catch the replay, what is it that you love? Like, what's one thing that you love that you couldn't care less if anybody else loves it? Right? Like, I couldn't care less that I'm the only person in my family that loves tennis. I blame this on my father. It's absolutely all his fault because when I was a little girl and I first started watching tennis, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting in my dad's living room, sitting in the living room at my dad's house, and the TV was on, and I don't even remember what channel it was, but I started watching this random tennis tournament. And I was like, I don't understand what's happening. They're just hitting this ball back and forth. Like, I know what tennis was, but nobody in my world played, so whatever. We had to play at school, I think, but whatever. But it wasn't something I had played. So I start watching this tournament though. And as with all things in little girls and little people, there was this player, and I was like, oh, he's kind of interesting. He's got red hair, and I didn't know very many redheads. So I started watching this player play, and next thing I know, like, I'm watching an entire match. Like, the whole thing. I watched the whole thing. And I still couldn't tell you what was happening at the time. I was just like, they're hitting it back and forth, and he just hit the ground, and he's diving for it over. Like, it was crazy. So then I was like, okay, well, what is this? And I want to say it was the Cincinnati. Anyway, it was whatever they were showing on the TV back at that time. So it might have been one of the majors. I'm gonna forget. So I start watching tennis. Like, I just started randomly watching tennis, and my dad, God love that man. He is so great sometimes. He fed my delusions. He was crazy. He was like, "Oh, you decided that you like to watch tennis. Okay, so he gets me a subscription to Tennis Magazine." And I Used to get this magazine every month. I was so happy when it came. I learned about all my favorite players and I got to read about the world of tennis and all this stuff, right? So I just I found places in the world that were just my little area. Now, if you stick around me long enough, I will talk tennis with you. I will talk tennis players and tennis tournaments, but it's my little pocket, right? It's my little pocket. And I feel like when we have our little pockets, it helps to ground us into ourselves and remind us that we're not disconnected from the world, right? So in the age of social media, now I can connect with hundreds of thousands of people around tennis. And it's this whole community of people who love tennis, whole community of Black women who love tennis, right? Like it's so great. But even if all of that went away tomorrow, I would still be grounded in this thing that I love because it isn't about other people. It's not about external validation. It's about finding a place of peace. It's something the rhythmic hitting of that ball back and forth across the net, that sound calms something in my body. It brings me down a notch or two. And so I hope for you that in your day you have found, or in your life, you have found places where something brings you down, something allows you to exhale. And if you have it and you need some direction or some tips, pick up the anxiety solution. It's an ebook. You can read it on your phone, on your Kindle, on your computer. You can print it out and read it however you want to. There's an audiobook coming if I can ever get through recording it. Audiobooks take a long time. But anyway, it will give you some ideas, some suggestions, some tips of things that you might be able to do to help you come down and not shave your head. Oh my word, don't shave your head unless you want to. I love short hair. If you want to shave your head, shave your head. But if you are looking for connection or you're anxious and what you're looking for is direction, there are better ways, easier ways, and much more fulfilling ways to get there. Now, I hope that by shaving her head, she has found a piece of peace that she did not have before, that she feels liberated in a good way and not just felt in the moment the surge of adrenaline and um the feel good drug that our body can surge with to help us continue to do things, but then that feel good drug kind of goes away and we're left feeling a little bit empty inside because we didn't actually address why we shaved our head, but we just shaved our head. Hopefully that's not where she is, and where she is this was liberating, and I got a cute TikTok video about it that went viral. Right? I hope that's for her. But either way, don't do anything drastic before you have a chance to breathe through the moment and ground yourself outside of yourself so that you can find the voice inside of yourself that actually is telling you the right direction to go. Because, like I said last week, so much of the answers that you actually need and want are inside of you waiting for you to listen to them, but we can't because there's just too much noise. Go back and watch last Tuesday's chit chat if you want to talk about, if you want to hear more about ways to make that noise level come down. Otherwise, like I said, drop me a comment. Let me know, what is that one thing, that one little pocket that you love, that you couldn't care less if everyone else liked it too, but you love it so much and it brings you so much joy and it's part of who you are and you really love that for yourself. For me, tennis is just one of those things that I've cultivated over years. But it is one of those things I love. So on that note, I'm going to take my cup of tea that is finally almost ready to drink. I can touch it now. So that's a good sign. And if you're wondering what it was, again, it's the regenerative green. It's a lemongrass tea, lemongrass and spearmint. I'm gonna go take it. I'm gonna watch a little bit of the tennis match that's going on back here behind me, and I will see you all next Tuesday. And I'll see you again on Thursday. If you didn't know that was coming, that's when the video drops. All right, talk to y'all soon. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.